Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. So in today's installation video, it's time to keep working on my 4th gen Toyota Tacoma. We're going to make this sound better and look better too. So let's work on installing the AWE exhaust system for this truck. I'll have all the information down in the description where you can purchase this kit. There's also a few different options that you can go with. Now this is basically a full exhaust system for the truck. We have pretty much the straight through muffler system. It's going to make it a little bit louder. And then for this particular kit, I did go with the diamond black exhaust tips. This will also fit the long beds too. I have a 5-foot bed, so I won't be using that adapter, but if you have the long bed, this is going to fit that truck as well. So with my TRD off-road, this exhaust system hangs down too low for my liking. If you've seen the TRD Pros, there's a dual exhaust system that is tucked up a little bit nicer, so this is going to mimic that a little bit better. This just hangs down and is in the way. So I don't like that, and I want this truck to be a little bit louder as well. I want a little bit of grunt for that 4-cylinder turbo. So to start on the removal process, we're going to work our way from the back to the front of the truck. So I'm just in front of the rear axle where there's the first connection. So you can actually remove this with a 14mm. So there's a bolt on both sides here, or a nut. So it's welded on this side. You just have to worry about the nut on the back side. And then there's going to be 2 hangers. So you have one hanger up front, and with a brand new truck, this is going to be pretty easy to do. They're very pliable. As vehicles get older, this gets a lot harder. So if you're having trouble popping this off, you can spray some liquid penetrant in it and take some channel clamps, and that will help you in sliding this and popping it off. So you have one up front, and then you have one in the back here. And so by disconnecting the one in the front, you can actually start to push the exhaust towards the front of the truck, and that's how you can slowly pop this hanger off. And then with it off, my truck is lifted, so I may have a little bit more clearance, but you can just rotate this and simply slide it out just like that. So our next connection is going to be right here, just in front of this cross member in the middle of the truck. This is a big section. This is going to go all the way back to the muffler that we just detached from right there. And so you have 2 14mm. You are going to be using this size for the whole truck. So it's a very simple uninstallation. Oh, and it'll fall out just like that as soon as you get loose there. But you only need one tool for this project. So it's really easy to do in your garage. And so with those bolts out, there's going to be a few hangers. So what I'm going to do is just rest this. As you can see, it's separated. We'll rest it on this cross member here, so that way we can have that as a second hand if you are doing this by yourself. And then from there, there's going to be 3 hangers that hold this giant muffler in place. Now, since I am doing this by myself, I basically am going to try to get a shoulder on here once I remove one of these hangers. So like I said, with this truck, it's brand new. So these hangers are coming off very, very easily. But now what I need to be careful of is this dropping on me, of course. And so there's the second one. So we can kind of just let this hang now. It looks like that's probably the best way to do it. Start up front there, and that way I can slowly lower this on top of me. Make sure you're not doing this right after you drove the truck, because obviously it will be much hotter. Let it cool for a little bit, so that way none of these parts are hot. And then once we get it up over that cross member there, it is now completely detached. And so we have one more piece to remove right here. You'll be using a 14mm again for both of these bolts. They are nearly identical to the second 2 there that we just removed. You will have a hanger on the left side and the right side. So from here, it's just a matter of popping these off, just like we've been doing, and then you can easily slide this out. We'll start up front and work our way up into the truck here, where we have those same hangers on both the right side here, and then we have one on the left side too. And then we'll just line the front of it up and reinstall the factory bolts. Those bolts will be a little bit tricky just because they have this spring on them. So you'll just have to give it a little bit of force in order to get them started, to compress that spring. Once you get them started, it's pretty easy from there. So like you saw earlier, we removed 4 of these. These are the second 2 that we will not be reinstalling. We are going to move on to these clamps here for this second pipe. So I'm going to slide this clamp onto that first part of the exhaust that we just installed. Also, keep in mind, don't completely tighten down this piece here. We want to make sure the entire exhaust lines up front to back. Once everything is up and installed, then you can go back and make sure everything is nice and secure. So let's slide this piece up and over. You'll notice that there's these cutouts for this pipe, meaning that this is going to be this front section. The back side is solid all of the way around, so that way that is going to line up with the next connection. So from here, we'll push this on as far as we can, and that also has to do with not tightening the exhaust, because maybe we'll have to slide this forwards or backwards once we have the rest of it in. But what I'm going to do from here is snug up this clamp to at least hold the exhaust up, so that way it's not touching the ground. So we'll work our way to the driver's side now, where we can install the muffler section. We have another clamp that we need to put on the pipe first, and then from there we can lift this up. Now this is only utilizing 2 of the hangers up front. The hanger in the back will be related to the next piece that we install. So from here, just work on sliding it through those 2 hangers up top. And that front piece is going to be a little bit in the way. That's why we want to keep it loose before we tighten everything down. So you can slide those on and then line up that connection and tighten down that clamp. So now we're on to the piece that is going to go over the rear axle. So we're doing the same process, just a new piece. We will install that clamp first just to have it in place. And then this one will line up with the 2 hangers in the back. So we need to put it up and over the rear axle. And then from there, we can slowly start to line it up. So I'm going to get one in this hanger up top just to act as a second hand, and then slowly maneuver the other piece around as I push the rest of that hanger on, and then we can twist it and line it up with the second hanger. So again, it's going to be a little bit of a loose fitment just because nothing is completely tight, but that's what we want to be able to adjust all of these pieces. And then we can take that 15 millimeter and slowly start to tighten this. And so now we've reached the point with this AWE exhaust system where we can install the 2 exhaust tips for this kit. Now, like I mentioned earlier, you can go with the high clearance exhaust version. Basically what that is going to do is replace this entire piece here. It's going to still connect to that piece just above the axle there, but it is going to stop right around the spare tire and angle a little bit in the down position. So you will not see it at all, but it's going to give you a little bit more piping. Now, if you opt for the exhaust tips, you could actually stop the exhaust right there. So I could call it a day, leave it like that, or of course, install the exhaust tips as I will get to here soon. So technically with this system here, you can have the exhaust tips for on-road and daily use. If you're going to go off-road, maybe you just want to better protect those exhaust tips. You could remove this section here by removing that one clamp, which is on the ground currently, and it's that easy. So you can remove that clamp, take off that hanger, hit the trails, come home, and put your exhaust tips on for daily use. So it's a really neat configurable kit depending on how you plan on using your truck. And because that section is angled completely down, we'll have to put this on the exhaust tip piece itself here, or this hanger. So we can slide that on, and then from there, we can line it up along with the one hanger here. So just a matter of getting it up in there. All right, and once we get it on, then I can come over to the hanger here and install that. And once I get that hanger on, I'll slide this all the way back up and then tighten that down. So with that piece nice and snug, I went ahead and tightened the entire exhaust system. So everything lined up well, all of the bolts and clamps are now nice and secure. Before we install the exhaust tips, this would be another configuration that you can do with this kit. So if you're going off-road, maybe you don't want to uninstall this piece here, you could just simply remove the exhaust tips and be fine. With the angle and the departure angle, especially with the 4th Gen Tacoma, even with the exhaust tips on, you're really not going to hit them. This has a really good departure angle for the design of this truck. But if you wanted to, again, be safe with the exhaust tips, you could just leave that like it is, and it's tucked up away so nicely that you're really not even going to see it or hit it off the pavement. And so from here, we can slide these clamps on first. It doesn't really matter which way you install these. You just want to have good access, of course, to tightening them down. So for the one on the back, I'm going to have it in this direction here. I have plenty of room. And then also with the exhaust tips, you can actually slide these on as far as you want. Obviously, it'll stop right about here, but you can come out where you at least want a solid piece of this clamp on the exhaust itself, so you don't want to come all the way out, of course. So we can put that one on. I'll slide that other clamp on as well. And then from here, you can also decide if you want them staggered, maybe you want them the same, or you want them staggered this way. So I'm going to mess around with this real quick just to see what I think looks best. And so what I ended up doing is pushing this left one all the way in as far as it can go, and then just lining this one up to give it a nice staggered appearance. And it hides away very nicely, very similar to the TRD Pro. So honestly, you probably won't hit this going off-road, but just in case, you have all those configurations that I mentioned. So now I have before clips with the stock exhaust. Let's take a listen to that versus this AWE kit and see how much louder this is. And so my overall thoughts with this exhaust, with one last small acceleration there, I think this definitely sounds really good. It definitely livens up this 4-cylinder, and it makes it sound like the outgoing V6. This sounds nearly identical to my V6. And from a 4-cylinder turbo, I think that's very impressive with the design and the technology features with this AWE exhaust. So just on a minor acceleration here, just on the throttle slightly, you can hear it a little bit, but it's not going to be louder than your audio or talking to other people in the vehicle. It's something that you can hear that tone in the background, but it's not obnoxious. It's something that could be a daily driver with its sound. So if you want just something to hear the truck with the factory exhaust, you just don't hear it. In some of those clips, you really just heard wind noise more than you heard the actual exhaust. And it definitely livens it up, makes it sound really good. So overall, installation process is very easy. You could knock this out in about an hour or so, give or take. It's really not that hard of a project to work on. And you have a lot of different configurations depending on what kind of driving you plan to do with your truck. So this is one of the most configurable exhaust systems on the market. You have a lot to choose from for the price. It's definitely a really good kit. So take a look at the link down in the description below where you can get this for your 4th gen. We also have this product for the 3rd gen Tacoma as well. So you can take a look at that video with my 3rd gen Tacoma installing this exact exhaust system, so you can see how that sounds for that truck. Virtually the same as far as the installation process goes. But that is going to wrap it up for the installation of this AWE exhaust. If you enjoyed today's video, give it a huge thumbs up and consider smashing that subscribe button so you guys can stay up to date with our daily uploads as well as the rest of the build with my 4th gen Toyota Tacoma. And with one last acceleration, I will see you all in the next video.